Dude, talking about January 6th 1 year later is fucking wild, man. Because it feels like we learned so little. Like, for example, like Lindsey Graham. This is a tweet I wanted to talk about. What brazen politicization of January 6th by President Biden. I wonder if the Taliban, who now rule Afghanistan with al-Qaeda elements present, contrary to President Biden's beliefs, are allowing this speech to be carried. Okay, number one. Literally, this is fucking not relevant at all. Number two. People stormed the Capitol to stop the certification of the vote and to overturn the election. And it delayed the certification of the vote, and multiple people lost their lives and were beaten. It is an inherently political event, okay? If you storm the how do you make storming the Capitol non-political? Oh, I'm not storming the Capitol for political reasons. I'm doing it for fun. No, they were storming it for political reasons. They just went from a political rally with a president who is a political figure and his lawyers and others who are also political figures like Madison Cawthorn, Mo Brooks, who, by the way, had body armor, and we still don't have an explanation about that, and that's why we need an investigation, all this January 6th stuff. They're giving a political speech at a political rally, and the people giving that speech were political figures. And then those people then went to the Capitol, a political landmark where they chanted political slogans before storming the Capitol so they could go take their fight directly to the politicians who are political figures. It's literally inherently, by every single aspect, political. How could Biden possibly make a speech about January 6th and not have it be political? My God, I'm sick of all these lefties making the storming of the Capitol so political. Jesus fucking Christ. But that's the thing. If you listen to Republican leadership in many ways, like Lindsey Graham or other Republican politicians, I forget exactly who, but there was one person who just like referred it as to the January 6th incident, right? They don't want to directly have to actually talk about what happened on January 6th. Because if they do, the more they highlight it, the worse Trump looks. And Trump is most likely going to be their candidate in 2024. And Trump doesn't like them talking about said things. Like some of those things Trump has said about the protesters recently. He's called them like peaceful protesters and all that. He's literally rewriting history. Can we look this up quick? Here it is. Trump justified calls to hang Mike Pence at Capitol riot. And there's audio of it. This isn't like just like some random like, oh, like this is just a claim of something he said. There's audio of it. I've played it on stream before. They were saying hang Mike Pence, Carl told Trump. Trump responded, because it's common sense, John. It's common sense that you're supposed to protect. Trump then repeated his baseless claims that the 2020 presidential elections, which he lost to President Joe Biden, were fraudulent. How can you, if you know a vote is fraudulent, right? How can you pass on a fraudulent vote to Congress? How can you do that? And I'm telling you, 50-50, it's right down the middle for the top constitutional scholars when I speak with them, right? By the way, he's lying about this, even though Trump's personal lawyer also wrote up instructions on how to overthrow the government of the United States. Here's another thing that we can bring up. Right here, January 6th organizers used burner phones to communicate with the White House. Organizers of the Stop the Steal rally that preceded the deadly Capitol attack on January 6th allegedly communicated with members of former President Trump's family and administration, according to Rolling Stone magazine. Multiple sources told Rolling Stone that Kylie Kremer, an organizer for the rally that took place at DC Ellipsis Park, had an aid by 3 burner phones a few days before January 6th. And he said that it was of the utmost importance that the phones be purchased with cash. One source, who was a member of the March for Trump team, not exactly a Democratic source, told the magazine. And so questions like this, 1 year later, why this happened, hasn't been answered. All the stuff Trump has been fighting, how much he's been fighting to make sure that his communications during the day of January 6th don't get released to the public and try and have as little transparency as possible, that hasn't been released to the public, and we're still fighting him on that, right? When it comes to people like Steve Bannon refusing to testify before Congress because he knows if he does, that could hurt his grand leader, President Trump. That hasn't happened. There's so much we don't know even 1 year out that we need to know to have a complete perspective of it. And that's why this investigation is so important. But even a year later, Trump is justifying what the protesters did by saying, hey, but it was fraudulent. He is saying the same lies that caused what happened on that day and made people think in their head that, hey, we need to overthrow this system. We need to storm this Capitol. If you genuinely believe an election was stolen and the wrongful person is about to become president, of course you're going to storm the Capitol. Let me bring this up. Trump did not want to tweet "Stay peaceful" during January 6th riot, key former aide says. A former Trump White House official said then President Donald Trump initially refused to tweet the word "stay peaceful" as the attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021 was escalating. As a violent pro-Trump mob stormed the Capitol and sent lawmakers scrambling for their lives, Trump tweeted at 2:38 ET, "Please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful." The tweet came 20 minutes after Trump supporters were smashing through windows and evacuations had begun. The former official, who was working in the West Wing and was close to White House messaging during the insurrection, said Trump did not want to include the words "stay peaceful" and was very reluctant to put out anything when it was unfolding. Trump was letting it play out. Trump spokesman, of course, denies this, but I don't know why key Trump aides would be lying about this, or the March for Trump people, or any of these people who are close to Trump, close to his team, or support Trump. They're not just lying. There's so much more information we need to confirm and investigate. All this stuff that caused what happened on January 6th, Trump is continuing to do, and we haven't resolved those issues. A majority of Republicans right now believe that Trump unfairly lost that election and that he's the real president of the United States. A majority of Republicans. That is extremely dangerous because if one of the major parties can't take an L, you're going to have more results like this. You know, the countries where they have disputed elections, violence following elections becomes the norm. Rioting and mass protests becomes the norm if you're disputing every election, even if you're disputing it for completely ridiculous reasons. A great example I would bring up is Myanmar. In Myanmar, the shot in the air to start the military coup that led to them slaughtering civilians, the same military which ethnically cleansed 750,000 Rohingya Muslims, overthrew the democratically elected leadership of Aung San Suu Kyi after she fairly, according to international observers, won that election. Now, I don't like Aung San Suu Kyi when it comes to many things she did, but no one can dispute, unless you're fucking insane, that she is much better than the military junta that's taken over, and most certainly better for the health of the democracy that has now been shot dead by the military junta in Myanmar, and now 1/3 of the country is controlled by rebels, and violence is escalating, IED explosions are escalating, and this all came from the military's false claims that the election was stolen. Now, I'm not saying that that came from the January 6th stuff, but I am saying that it rings to the same authoritarian themes, right? And now, let me also bring up the footage right now of Michael Flynn, Trump's former national security advisor.
I want to know why what happened in Myanmar can't happen here.
No reason. I mean, it should happen here. No reason. That's right.
Which again, I just covered on my channel how fucking brutal the government is, where they're just massacring non-governmental aid organization workers and then burning their bodies to a crisp. He says, yeah, we should have a situation like that before walking it back after getting massive backlash for good reason. This is the same person who was Trump's former national security advisor, saying we should have that military coup, while Trump's personal lawyer is writing up instructions through trying to use some fucking dumbass fucking loopholes. Hell, the lawyer even wanted to use the violence. I don't know a lot of people talk about this specifically, but the lawyer talked about in the documents and later said that they should have used the delay of the vote to try to stop the certification of the vote. Literally trying to use the violence in order to make Trump president. This shit's all wild. And 1 year later, Trump is justifying what the protesters did, right? Continuing the lies that caused the situation. His former national security advisors are like, those military coups are pretty cool. His personal lawyers are writing up instructions for a coup. And the majority of his base believes that he is the rightful president of the country. We're watching something that could be the symptoms of a party just completely rejecting democracy. Because this is the same person who said before the 2020 election, if he lose, it was rigged. And every time he'd lose a primary in 2015, he would say, oh, there was some tomfoolery or something that caused him to lose. And it wasn't a true loss. It was some tomfoolery. So it's not surprising that the person who can't accept a loss can't accept losing an election. And 1 year later, after January 6th, when we saw Lindsey Graham, we saw Chuck Schumer, all these people come out and basically start flipping. And we only saw people like Matt Gaetz, who's currently being investigated for sex trafficking of a minor, of course. And people like him who got up there and was like, well, actually, maybe it was all Antifa. And because of those seeds of lies that people like Matt Gaetz planted, you'll still hear that talking point months later, even though it was literally debunked the same day he said it. But he said it, so that was all it took. No fact checking required. Imagine if we could get all that information. This is just stuff we found so far. Much of it Trump hasn't even fought on the release of. So imagine what Trump is fighting to keep behind closed doors right now when he's saying, oh no, all of this is covered by executive privilege. Even though in many of these interactions that he's trying to cover by executive privilege, he's covering interactions that were with former White House officials that are not covered by executive privilege. Imagine what the fuck he's covering up. And then we have one party trying to shut down an investigation into it. Many of them continuing to perpetuate the lie that what happened on January 6th wasn't of much significance, when all the conditions that created what happened on January 6th still exist today. Madison Cawthorn, one of the new members of the House, he literally at an event said, I'm planning another January 6th. Now you think that's out of context? I'm telling you it isn't. I did a whole story about it on my YouTube channel, and you go check it if you want to. Tucker Carlson, somebody who gets some of the biggest views in the country when it comes to primetime viewership on politics. Fox's biggest hit released a 3-part documentary that I spent a long time debunking on this channel, where he just made up lie after lie after lie and just put out vague conspiracies about January 6th, alleged or implicated that January 6th was a giant Fed operation without providing any evidence. Just like, well, is it possible? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Just throwing out vague conspiracies. And he's the #1 most popular fucking commentator on Fox News. Continuing to spread the misinformation that means we won't have to actually address what we saw on January 6th. I saw with my own eyes, people fucking go and beat up the media and smash all their camera equipment right in front of me. And I posted the footage of it online that I took with my phone, right? The irony of it is the reason that happened, the interaction happened, is I saw the start of it. One of the fucking news reporters said what was happening behind them was a riot, and that pissed off somebody so much that he decided to immediately prove them right and then destroyed all their camera equipment after other people surrounded as well. And like stuff like that being downplayed when you have the planting of bombs, the storming of the Capitol, multiple cops killing themselves afterwards, the death of Brian Sicknick. If you believe that what happened on January 6th was fucking nothing, or not that important, or doesn't deserve to be discussed, then an investigation into it, or us trying to find out what Trump's trying to cover up and claim executive privilege on, or getting to the bottom of those burner phones. That's another thing about the January 6th documentary Tucker Carlson did. He basically, all he had to do to certify that the people who organized January 6th, like, didn't do anything wrong is he said, hey, they played one video for us, some audio of us, of a phone call where they didn't discuss overthrowing the government. Guess they didn't do it. As if, like, if I was being charged for murder, all I have to do is show a picture of me with the victim not dead. Boom, I'm innocent. Didn't address the burner phones, hasn't addressed the burner phones since then. That's a huge question mark in the air. Mo Brooks, why did Mo Brooks know to wear body armor in advance? We have so many questions, and we've learned nothing from January 6th because the conditions are still the same. Everything that produced it is still the same. The disinformation is still out there. Trump is still spreading the lies that caused it. We're finding out more and more and more about exactly the extent of Trump's plan to stay president, while even though he was not duly elected as the leader of the United States, and basically how it failed. And it failed because not everybody in his team wanted to sign on to his fucking wacko plan. And let me also say something. People often bring up to me the fact that the majority of the protesters were peaceful, right? Even though Trump hesitated to say stay peaceful when many of them got violent and stormed the fucking Capitol, right? But the majority of those there did not engage in violence. That is true. They were still wrong. The protesters that were there that day were there because they believed the election was stolen, because they were lied to by fucking con artists and swindlers. They were there because they wanted to overturn the results of a democratic election, a democratically elected government, either through just public pressure or through, obviously, the actions of the Proud Boys, for example, real violence. By the way, Donald Trump is the same person who went after Hillary Clinton for so much, for the emails, and like wanted transparency and said he had nothing to hide, and is then doing everything he can to hide his communications on the day of January 6th. Everything he can. Not to mention all the voter suppression legislation that's being spawned from what happened that day, because people are still buying into the lie or entertaining it. For example, Liz Cheney was the third or second most powerful Republican in the House. Removed from her positions. Why? Not because she didn't support the voter suppression laws, Not because she didn't vote with Trump. Liz Cheney voted in line with Trump much more than the person who replaced her. She was simply removed because she did not believe the lie that the election was stolen. And so I can't wait to see fucking in 3 years if Trump loses another election. Okay, actually, no, it's in 2 years now. In 2 years, if Trump loses another election, what's gonna happen? And let's say he wins. Then what? Then the same people who are willing to crush our democracy are going to be in positions of powers again. And not only that, it will be a note will be said to the world that what Trump did here and the lies he spread is not a disqualification from being president. And that you can say the lies he did and just completely deny that you lost. It didn't take long for people to forget. It did not take long. What I saw that day was absolutely disgusting. And the way I was just treated for voting differently, right? People walked up to me and called me a traitor because I was wearing a Biden hoodie. I voted differently than them. That was a form of treason, right? And they were saying that while behind them I saw people with Confederate flags entering the Capitol. Fucking ridiculous. The irony was completely lost on them. And the people who were so willing to compromise on their deeply held values so quickly. I saw people flip from back to blue to screw these Capitol Police. Somehow these Capitol Police specifically are compromised are not real police, and so us go beating them up or cursing them or telling them to go die is somehow morally permissible, even though I'm a back to blue person. Just seeing people flip in an instant and then watching them fight each other because one would see somebody insulting a cop and get angry at them. And then it was like a 50-50 chance they just join in with them like 5 minutes later. Attacking the Capitol is not treason then. Voting for Trump and attacking the Capitol are two separate things. Okay, Slayer? I'm saying Trump voters are not traitors just because they voted for Trump. It's a totally different question that if somebody stormed the Capitol to overthrow the democratic election of the United States. It's two totally different things. Not every Trump voter stormed the Capitol. Hell, not even every person there stormed the Capitol, even if they bought into lies. Hey, Danabo, could you link me my tweets I made on January 6th 1 year ago? I kind of want to look at them.
1 sec.
Thanks, I'd appreciate it. Let's go over the images I took that day. Dude, I remember this was taking this picture. It was surreal watching these cops in riot gear just way after than they should have been there, coming out with riot gear and the batons and just filing out of these cars and these very like just militarized, I guess these would be police just filing out with rifles. There was a million people telling me to stay safe, which I guess I appreciate, but also was weird because like for me, it's like, why should I have to stay safe living in the DMV? Like this is, I was born and raised in the DMV. I shouldn't have to stay safe just living where I'm living and walking where I usually walk.
So I'm here, I'm safe, everything's fine at the moment. I've seen some QAnon flags, Confederate flags. I think it's called the AF, America First thing.
The AF, America First flag, that's like Nick Fuentes' political pact. Those flags were everywhere.
Which I think might be associated with Nick Fuentes. I think someone told me it was, but I'm not sure for sure. There's Trump flags. I'm currently outside.
This was after much of the violence had subsided. I don't know why I was dumb enough to get this close.
And I'm wearing, of course, my lovely Biden Harris merch, and you know, I'm sure that'll go over well with the vast majority of people here because, you know, they believe in democracy. I believe in democracy. I guess
it's so weird how I'm talking about it nonchalantly when I was literally like right there at a moment in history, you know, wearing that, which led to a lot of, you know, getting called the F slur a few times, people spitting in my direction, telling me that I should be executed, you know, the usual.
And we both also, you know, we can unite through our united faith, you know. So I'm sure it'll go good.
I was like, hey, I'm a Christian. Hey, well, you know, we're all Christian here. I'm sure we can all get together. And that did not play well. Okay, that did not play well. It was not enough. I was genuinely pretty scared at a lot of points to walk closer, and that's why I have a lot of photos of just the Capitol. I think rightfully scared. Oh yeah, here's the footage I was talking about. This was a little bit after they already broke down the barrier, and this is them literally pushing the news cameras away. I don't know if you ever saw that footage. This interaction happened because there was one person, a reporter, who was reporting and said to the camera, behind us is the riot. And it pissed off somebody so much that he came up to it and started waving an American flag in front of the camera so they couldn't record. Then more people gathered. Then some people started throwing water bottles and projectiles and shit. And then eventually they started rocking back and forth the gate, dividing them from the media. They then tore it down, pushed all the media back, and then smashed all their cameras for covering the event. You can kind of see some of the fallen over equipment. This was like after it already happened. Oh yeah, that was what I was wearing. I had the vote for Ossoff pin. Ah! Why did I wear the Ossoff pin? Such a bad idea. It was a wild day, man. Dude, watching the tear gas deployed and the cops doing everything to like stop them while they're actively storming the Capitol and just chanting USA, USA as they push back the dude, I can't even. Oh, wait, you know I was talking about that guy like flying his flag instead of in front of the media? I think this is my footage of it. That's the guy. That's the guy who started it. That guy with the American flag is the one who started it. Started the attack on the media. And that's the reporter who called it a riot and is what started it right there. That's the reporter. I forgot I had this. This might be easier to scroll through. It might be. Let's go look through this. Is it update? Welcome to America. President's the Capitol. Da-da. Oh yeah, the stickers. People were yelling at these cops, just telling them, an insult that kept getting thrown at them was oath breakers. That they, by protecting the Capitol from these protesters, were breaking their oath of office. So these people were like very clearly like wanting the Capitol to be stormed and taken over by the people. Like if they're calling the people protecting it oath breakers, I think that's pretty obvious. The chants of USA don't even sound real. They sound like added audio almost because they were so loud. This was after a few bangs. I assume they were like some sort of grenade. Not like an actual like live grenade, but some sort of police device. So wild, man. Oh yeah, these people right here. I don't think I've ever talked about this at length on stream. These people right here in this military garb and with the masks and everything. These people right here kept pointing at me. I don't know why. I don't know if they recognized who I was or it was because of the hoodie or anything. But right soon after these guys pointed at me, somebody came up to me, rode up on a bike and offered to give me a ride out of there in a van. I didn't know who this person was and they were offering to give me a random ride. Like literally like, hey, I got a van that you can get in. That's kidnapping shit, man. That could have been somebody being nice, or that could have been literally if I got in that van, I'm dead. It could have, like, I don't know, man. And it happened right after these people pointed me out. Like, I don't know, man.
Can you tell the sign story again, please, of that one person that held up that really creepy sign to you?
Oh, yeah. Let me see if I can find the sign, actually. Oh, here it is. So this woman right here was like, came up to me and was like, I want to show you something, right? Like, okay, I want to talk to you. I want you to really remember this. And then showed me this sign, this woman right here. All that is hidden in darkness will come to light. Treason is punishable by death. Mind you, this was after I've had like debates with people about how I'm a traitor for voting for Joe Biden. And she wanted me in particular to get this message. I don't know, man. Fun time. Oh God, yeah, the dude who spit at me. There was like one Trumper the whole event that I thought was cool. There was one guy who came up to me, saw me in the Biden hoodie, was like, hey man, it's okay to have disagreements. And like, I respect you for coming out and going to vote. And then he left, right? I think I even tweeted about it. Flashbangs, tear gas. Why didn't the cops pepper spray Antifa and BLM? Why us? Oh yeah. Trump supporters yelling traitors at cops and National Guards. I saw the Kekistan flag. This is giving me renewed confidence in my safety. Trump supporters can't decide to yell traitor at cops or thank them for their service. Someone asked me why I don't like Trump, and I said Yemen. He did not like the answer. Oh yeah, I was saying, well, one of the reasons is his policies on Yemen. And then he just was like, you mother. I think he just didn't know about it, so he just got angry because he
Little did you know that person was an analyst.
True. Hearing people call for militias to rise up. Gotta be honest, as a Christian, did not feel a lot of those good Christian values tonight. Guy just passed with flag stolen from building. Said he took it back for the people. Oh yeah, he was the nice guy. Guy walked up to me and said, "We're on opposite sides, but you have the right to vote for who you want to. Stay safe." Nice guy. Trump supporter calling to block the cops from going into the Capitol building. Oh yeah, I haven't talked about this before. There were people trying to get in the roads to stop all the National Guard and all the cops that were coming in from Maryland and the surrounding area from getting to the Capitol, trying to buy more time for the people storming the Capitol. I don't think I've talked about that before, but that was happening. It didn't succeed for long because cops did get out and remove them, but they were trying to do that. Just saw a Hillary for Firing Squad shirt. Just heard someone break a window. Welcome to DC parking Trump supporters. Well, wild reflecting on it.
Was this before or after you had that Proud Boy altercation at another protest?
This was after.
That was the Million Man March, right?
The Million MAGA March.
Oh, yeah, right. That was MLK, right?
So did you start getting like that similar feeling, like when things started to go badly, like kind of that feeling like that you might have gotten when the people were charging?
There was a lot harder because I wasn't directly in front of all the bad stuff happening. Whereas for most of the really, really bad stuff, I was somewhat at a distance from like a hill that was close by from a distance, streaming and recording. When all the really, really bad, when it was at its worst, I was at a distance. When I got close to the Capitol, it was basically after the fact, once the cops maintained a certain amount of control. And it also, the whole thing kind of was made worse by the fact that like, I was supposed to be there with another person that was touring news, and touring news never met up with me, which also meant I had less time to like record and take pictures because I was just waiting for him, and he was too busy like literally in the fray. Oh yeah, this guy also, old suspect sushi, old hippy dippy guest. He was there. He was the suit Proud Boy. Oh yeah, and they started like linking like debates on my chat. Dude. Jeff reportedly said he met with Tario to see. Yeah, this was all information. Thanks to Dylan Burns for sharing the pic and details below. Fuck, man. It was really weird. Like, being the person, like, let a lot of that go public. In the messages, Jeff Friendly said Proud Boys are willing to not come home after the 12-12-20 rally in D.C. People get ready for blank incarceration. You can use these receipts against me. Well, that's enough of that. Oh, yeah, Fluff's thing. Oh, yeah. Watch it. Great work, Fluff. You're a real American.